All right, welcome everyone. We are so fortunate and honored to have the First Lady, Miss Melania Trump, with us today as we focus on improving the lives of the nearly 16,000 youth who are aging out of America's foster care system every year. Foster youth who age out without connections to permanent family are one of the most vulnerable populations in the U.S. Ms. Trump, I want to sincerely thank you for your longstanding leadership on this effort to create new opportunities for foster youth in America. As you have said, you will always use your influence to safeguard our children and provide them with the means to flourish. The First Lady's bold Fostering the Future initiative has put a new spotlight on our nation's foster youth. The priorities that you have identified align strongly with the bipartisan reforms this committee has proposed to the Chafee program. Chafee is the nation's primary program dedicated to supporting youth ages 14 to 23 who are transitioning out of foster care. Last month, the committee announced the introduction of 6 bills to modernize Chafee and improve outcomes for youth aging out of foster care. Each one of those bills responds to challenges that have been shared by stakeholders, witnesses, and foster youth themselves about what needs to be improved in the program, including better coordination with housing programs and expanding educational and workforce training opportunities. The First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative, combined with the strong work that Chairman Darren LaHood and Ranking Member Danny Davis have done, has created a very unique opportunity for reform. And I am committed, as I said earlier, committed to advancing legislation through this committee as quickly as possible. This roundtable provides an opportunity for the First Lady to share with us some of the important stories she has heard from foster youth about the need for reform, and for members of this committee to hear directly about reforms that we are working on. I'd like to recognize the foster youth here with us. We have Jaden Martinez and Jocelyn Fetting, and we thank you for your willingness to share your stories today. Your perspectives are so important for sharing adversity, but also the hope that's what's possible for youth. I recently learned the story of Seth, who is originally from Rolla in my district in Missouri. He entered foster care around age 15 and aged out at 18. He experienced homelessness, and he worked 3 jobs, walking 6 miles each day to go between them. Seth received the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence housing voucher, which provided him stable housing. In his words, that voucher, quote, flipped the script on what he thought was possible in his life. He currently works as a corrections officer and intends to apply to college this fall. This is what's at stake: the opportunities for foster youth to live more fulfilling lives of their choosing. I will now turn to the Work and Welfare Subcommittee Ranking Member, Danny Davis, for his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, First Lady. I'm very pleased that the First Lady and our committee have gathered today to hear directly from youth who experience foster care. And it'll help not work.
You want to use this?
Let's switch over.
This doesn't either. It did turn on. Yeah, I see it's on. It's on. None of ours.
Now I think we're on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, First Lady. I'm very pleased that the First Lady and our committee are gathered today to hear directly from youth who experience foster care and to discuss how we at the committee can help foster youth thrive. The voices of youth and families should always be at the center of our work. Every year, about 20,000 young people age out of foster care, never having found a permanent family. It was not safe for them to return home, and they were not connected to other kin or an adoptive family. Although Congress created the Chafee program to help older foster youth transition out of care, lack of awareness and limited funding mean less than 1/4 of youth aged 16 to 21 actually receive Chafee services. The path for youth exiting care is treacherous. Many drop out of school, become parents young, struggle with untreated mental health issues and trauma, and experience homelessness. Over the past months, Chair LaHood and I have searched together for true common ground on policies affecting older youth who were or are in foster care. I commend my friend, Mr. LaHood, for a bipartisan process that should be a model for all of our work. A sincere, thoughtful collaboration where we both talked and listened. This collaborative process yielded 6 pieces of legislation that reflect real consensus. I'm proud of these first steps that represent real progress, and I believe that we can accomplish far more, especially as we are now joined by the First Lady. As we listen to these youth today, I hope my colleagues will consider what more we can do to support these youth and the new approaches of our legislation. Notably, there is a critical need for more investment. Aside from during the pandemic, this committee has only increased Chafee funding by $3 million since its creation in 1999. The amount of money needed would be tiny and insignificant compared to the fiscal impact of a routine tax markup in our committee or a day at the Defense Department. Yet such funding would be life-changing for foster youth. In particular, I know the First Lady has engaged deeply with foster youth and is committed to helping them. And so, First Lady, I believe that your voice in support of the resources needed to implement these bipartisan bills and expand and reach out to the Chafee program, added to ours, would make all the difference between first steps and transformative change for youth. So I thank you so very much for your interest, for your engagement, your involvement. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for your commitment to the foster children of the United States. I will now turn to the Work and Welfare Chairman, Mr. Darren LaHood, for his remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, for having this full committee roundtable. And I want to welcome you, Madam First Lady, and just commend you for your passion and commitment to our foster youth. Your voice and the way that you've championed this cause is inspiring, and we're grateful to have you here today. Your longstanding attention to uplifting America's foster youth through the Be Best and Fostering the Future initiatives has been a catalyst for meaningful and transformative change. I don't know if everybody realizes, but your engagement with this committee on foster care dates back to 2022, when you co-authored an op-ed with our colleague, former Representative Jackie Walorski, highlighting May as National Foster Care Month in 2022. We thank you for that. And as chairman of the Work and Welfare Subcommittee, one of my priorities has been how do we modernize the Chafee foster care program? Last January, we received a troubling report from the Government Accountability Office, which found states across the country have been returning unused Chafee funds since 2007, despite the need from foster youth. In 2023 alone, more than 30 states returned $8.9 million in unused funds. Over the past year, a bipartisan group of members of this committee has been working to develop and introduce common sense reforms to make sure SHAFE dollars are getting to the youth that need them. And I want to thank Ranking Member Davis and my friend and the members who are leading these bills for their leadership and partnership on this. During our hearings, I have consistently heard that access to stable housing is one of our biggest barriers that youth face as they work towards self-sufficiency. One study found that 35% of foster youth experience homelessness by age 21. We also know that federal programs are fragmented and don't always coordinate with each other. To address this, I introduced the Foster Youth Housing Opportunity Act with my colleague, Gwen Moore, to improve coordination between child welfare programs and the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Housing Program. As you know, many public housing authorities have been unable to secure the vouchers required for supportive services, preventing youth from being able to utilize the voucher as intended. Our bill, which has more than 100 endorsements, would allow states to use SHAFE funds for housing supportive services and aligns age eligibility between the programs, reducing a key barrier to access. This bill is one of the 6 bipartisan bills with important reforms to SHAFE that members of this committee have worked on together. Mrs. Trump, your presence here today and leadership on fostering the future has elevated foster care at the highest level of government. Thank you for your commitment and for taking the time to come here today to speak with members on both sides of the aisle about these reforms and listen to the different perspectives in the room. Through our bipartisan efforts and with continued support, Mrs. Trump, I am confident that we can successfully advance these reforms through Congress. This isn't just a roundtable to discuss ideas. We have legislation and an opportunity to deliver a transition-age foster youth with the tools that they need to achieve greater opportunity, upward mobility, and long-term success. And I am committed to working with you and my Democrat colleagues to do what it takes to get this across the finish line, to turn words into actions. Again, I thank you, Mrs. Trump, and Jaden and Jocelyn for joining us here today. And I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. LaHood. No one has done more than the First Lady to champion the cause of foster youth, and I look forward to hearing her perspective. So I would now like to turn the floor over to the First Lady of the United States.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Smith, for hosting today's critical discussion surrounding America's foster care community. Chairman LaHood and Ranking Member Davis, your efforts to shape the legislation with your subcommittee are of tremendous value to our nation and to all the representatives of this prestigious committee who have worked so hard to introduce decisive reform within foster care. Mr. Miller, Mr. Chow, Mr. Moran, Mr. Yakim, Ms. Moore, Mr. Evans, and Mr. Carey, thank you. I would also like to extend my warm welcome to all of the Congresspeople in attendance today. Your bipartisan support is appreciated. And finally, a special thanks to Jacqueline Ronnie Faring and Jaden Martinez. We are gathered here today not because America's children rely on us, but rather because America's children are our moral equals. As parents and leaders, it is our ethical obligation to ensure American children develop emotionally and physically within a safe environment. As a community, we strive to nurture our children's curiosity, protect their innocence, and guide them with hearts full of care. Through respect, participation, and protection, American parents deliver the essentials to our next generation: housing, nutrition, clothing, and healthcare. In safeguarding our children's well-being, we shape the integrity of our nation. But to get there, a strong knowledge base is required. Education is the cornerstone of a child's future. Clearly, education is the foundation that can remain throughout one's lifetime. Yes, knowledge is permanent. In 2021, I launched Fostering the Future, a nationwide initiative to provide individuals from foster care community with access to education and at the university level. My goal is to prepare these individuals to secure entry-level jobs, become financially independent, and eventually innovate, create new businesses, and generate employment opportunities. When I first developed Fostering the Future, one thing became very clear. The foster care community requires action over awareness. This truth stands today. I'm proud to share that Fostering the Future currently maintains a footprint of over 20 universities across the country from coast to coast. In fact, academic institutions such as Vanderbilt University, the University of Miami, LSU, UVA, the University of Texas, the Ohio State University, and the University of Alabama all educate Fostering the Future students. Although reports vary, roughly 3% of individuals in foster care community earn a college degree in 2025. We can close this gap. But still, foster youth face a special set of challenges outside the classroom that have a serious impact of their academic performance. These issues include housing instability, educational advocacy, financial barriers, transportation, continuity, access to technology, and other related issues. New legislation for the foster care community is a moral imperative. Some of you joined me in the White House last November for the signing of the Fostering the Future Executive Order. And although the executive order is a transformative vision, Congress now has the opportunity to create a lasting positive impact on this community. Beginning here in this room, we can once again change people's lives. With the new legislation, we can ensure that the opportunity is more than helpful for individuals in the foster care community. It can be their birthright. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Trump. It's an honor to have you with us. I would now like to turn to the two foster youth that we have with us today. Jaden Martinez is from Texas and a student at Stephen F. Austin University. Jaden has been in the foster care system since the age of 6. He has been formally recognized by Texas Governor Greg Abbott as, quote, the son of Texas. It's a big state, so the son of Texas for his advocacy efforts. Jaden, I invite you to share a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Smith, Chairman LaHood, our First Lady, and members of the committee. My name is Jaden Martinez. I'm a freshman at Stephen F. Austin State University. Recently, Governor Greg Abbott named me the son of Texas for my resilience, a title earned by refusing to let the foster care system live in my future. But that honor doesn't describe where I started. Before I draped the flags over my shoulders, I was a 6-year-old entering foster care, scared, hungry, but hopeful. At the age of 10, I received one last hug from my mother, a hug I wish would take me to magical places I read about in storybooks. Instead, she walked out of the office in tears. I never saw my mother again. I became a war of the state, a title that has never showed how much that terrified little boy just wanted a hug from his mother. I waited years for adoption, but that family never came. So at 16, I decided if I was going to be chosen, I would choose myself. I renamed myself a son of the state, and I spent my 18th birthday alone in a dark, crowded boys' home. I entered an independent living program with $42 and everything I had left. I lived off of that money for a month while trying to eat and start school. I made it into college, but my education was spotty for moving placements so often. I sat on my first semester with 19 hours, including remedial math, desperately trying to learn what I missed in high school. I had success through great luck and a passionate new family, But success for a foster youth shouldn't be a result of luck. It should be a result of opportunity. And today, U.S. Congress have the power to turn luck into law by passing the bipartisan Chaffee bills. In Texas, I received $2,007.50 a semester. For a youth on their own, that disappears in a blink of an eye. I used for bedding, a laptop, and professional clothing so I could stand before you as the leader that I am. The Post-Secondary Education Access and Success Act raises the ETV cap to $12,000. You provide a bed and food when classes end, or for those without families to call. The Workforce Opportunity Act provides remedial support and vocational paths for my brothers and sisters need to thrive. I'm not here to check a box or tell you what you want to hear. I'm here for my brothers and sisters who are in the system who need these bills. I am a product of this system, and I am the son of Texas. And I ask you, as our family, to invest into us as your children. Pass this package. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaden. Thank you, Jaden, very much. Jocelyn Fetting is from Illinois and recently earned her Master's of Social Work from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Jocelyn spent 8.5 years in the Illinois foster care system, aging out at 21. She too has been a strong advocate for foster youth, including providing mentorship and guidance to those navigating the foster care system. Jocelyn, I invite you to share a few words, and thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. I hope you all are well. First, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the First Lady, Chairman Smith, Ranking Member Davis, and the committee. Right now, there are thousands of young people from foster care doing everything right and are still struggling. Not because they lack effort or potential, but because the systems meant to support them have not kept pace with their needs. I'm here today with Foster Club, not just as one voice, but as a reflection of those young people whose lives are shaped by the policies we choose. My name is Jocelyn Fetting. I am 22 years old, 23 next week, and I earned both my bachelor's and master's from the University of Illinois. Go Illini. I serve as a substitute teacher, grades pre-K through 8th, and a peer navigator for young adults in foster care. I entered foster care at 12 alongside my younger siblings after losing my parents, but I made the most out of that time, and I graduated with honors and was admitted to a top university. In college, though, even with scholarships, I worked 3 jobs just to meet my basic needs: food, hygiene, housing, transportation. Support like education and training vouchers existed, but it was out of reach, not because I didn't need it, but because no one ensured I could access it. I carried the emotional weight of being the oldest. To stay connected with my younger siblings, I used to pay my friends for rides to see them, and this pressure made it difficult to succeed academically. So my honors GPA dropped to academic probation. The CONNECT Act would prioritize family connections for youth like me. And while I always knew I wanted to go to college, that path isn't the right option for everyone. My brother found his niche in auto mechanics, and one of my best friends wants to go to cosmetology school. Their goals are just as valid as mine, but they don't always come with the same opportunity or support. The Foster Youth Post-Secondary Education Access and Success Act and the Foster Youth Workforce Opportunity Act would help ensure that no matter the path, young people have the resources they need to succeed. We are expecting young people to achieve self-sufficiency without providing support to do so. That's why each of these bipartisan reforms to the Chaffee program matter. They shorten the distance between survival and success. Foster youth are not broken. We are ready, but readiness is not the problem. Access and having people in our corner is. If we truly believe every young person deserves a fair chance, then Congress must pass these reforms, continue to utilize our voices in policy changes, and make sure all foster youth have support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Prior to our further discussion, I'd like to ask the press to please exit the hearing room.